Hey guys, so instead of me, trying to think of ways to convince you to be more interested in Restore Britain and all the interesting and bizarre ways I might do that, I think it would be probably easier just to let Rupert Law explain to you himself. That would probably be easier. Check it out. Okay, so Rupert Law is speaking to David Starkey, and David Starkey has asked him why he's set up Reform UK and why he thinks it's necessary.
Well, David, after a year, just over a year in Parliament now, I'm what I call still a Parliament chalk jockey in some respects, but what I've seen gives me huge concern, and I'm really grateful that you have agreed to help us with Restore Britain, which I think is so important now, not just from a constitutional point of view, but from the point of view of uniting those people who care deeply about their country, know that when it's working properly, it's the best place in the world to live, but also know now that the signs, and as you say, this Afghanistan issue is frankly incredible, that a government thinks that it can force transparency and accountability upon its people who are paying the taxes and funding the entire state and state apparatus, while the state can go off and take out a super injunction and basically cover up, first of all, incompetence, and secondly, dishonesty, which I consider this to be in a transparent democracy. This is a dishonest...
I'd say treason, personally. I'd go a little bit further, but here we are.
Situation, and I think it embodies, as you say, everything which is wrong. And I'm delighted to be here to talk about what I see in Parliament, how I think it's dysfunctional. And then obviously I think you and I both agree. And
I mean, Nigel Farage isn't going to say that, is he? Because he's never there.
And we always have a lot of fun when we're together. In fact, I had the best evening of my life at my club when you spoke about our relationship with the French, which I think was one of the best evenings I've ever had there. So thank you for that.
He also dislikes the French. I mean, come on, guys. Come on.
So look, I think there's a range of topics we can cover, but my view now is that unless there is a unifying force to bring together those people who care, I think our democracy, our government, our civil service, everything that is supposed to be looking after us and protecting us, I think it's become maligned, David. And I think there's so much now that needs to be done that if we don't achieve that change by the next election, and I'm not sure it will be 29, I think it will be earlier, because I'm extremely concerned about the economy.
And how many of the people have you heard say that? How many of the politicians have you heard say that? Have you heard Nigel Farage say anything close to that? That we need to do something before 2029? That it might be too late if we wait that long? That's why he set up the foundation, or the pressure group, whatever you want to call it. I've given my theories on this, how I think this will eventually progress and morph into something else. But guys, no one else talks like this.
And in the end, as you know, democracy relies on a sound economy. And if you fail to have a sound economy, often democracies turn into autocracies.
Which is why I don't blame Rachel Reeves for ruining the economy, because Rachel Reeves has no fucking clue what she's doing. She's not the one in charge. She's not the one that is making the budget. Someone else is just getting her to sign it with a gun.
I think there's so much wrong. We can talk about, obviously, the Equality Act. We can talk about the Human Rights Act, all of the Blairite heffalump traps,
and the actual fucking devil in Tony Blair, which Nigel Farage won't mention, because if you remember back, Nigel Farage actually praised Tony Blair for wanting the wide-scale injection of everyone. The vaccines. He supported the vaccines. He wanted Tony Blair to oversee the implementation of the vaccine program.
I think you will get to the stage where it's going to be very hard for people to do a lot of normal life unless they can prove their vaccination status. Yeah. I think you'll find a situation where countries say to you, you're not coming in here unless we see whether you've either been vaccinated, you've had the disease and have got antibodies, or you've had a recent high-quality test. People have got to understand vaccination is going to be, in the end, your route to liberty. Vaccination is going to be, in the end, your route to liberty. Vaccination is going to be, in the end, your route to liberty. So you may think it's a constraint on your liberty, you've got to go and get vaccinated.
If ever there was a moment to call for a government of all the talents, much as I don't like Tony Blair, he does get things done. He does command respect. He is seriously bright. Why not get people like Tony Blair involved to help us solve a national crisis?
Yeah, that's right. Nigel Farage's answer to the COVID crisis wasn't to solve it himself, wasn't to offer advice himself. It was to install Tony fucking Blair in charge. The next Prime Minister of the UK. That's pretty bad.
Were laid, which the Tories not only didn't repeal, but very often they actually embedded them further into the structures, which is why now I think you'd agree there's such a big job to do constitutionally.
Britain is in decline. Brutal, relentless decline. The British people are crying out for leadership, and there is a yawning gap for a serious, authentic vehicle around which the country's conservative-minded majority can rally, organise and exert influence. Many have tried to fill this gap, but the British system is all but impervious to true political insurgency. Now is not the time for another party. What the country needs is a mouthpiece. Organisation is power, and Britain's elites, however detached they are, cannot ignore the united voice of the British people. That is why we're launching Restore Britain. We're an independent, non-partisan group for British citizens concerned with the political, economic, cultural and social condition of our country. We will build a policy platform together. A movement will be created together. A path will be forged together. Being in Parliament, I am uniquely positioned to hold the government to account. Our independent rape gang inquiry is the most successful crowdfunding effort in British political history. And in less than 24 hours, our parliamentary petition to release Lucy Connolly received over 100,000 signatures. Just think what we could achieve if we were doing that every week. And I need your help. As a member of Restore Britain, you will have the opportunity to vote on the policies and principles that you believe in. With this data, we will put pressure on the government and other political parties to recognise and act on the will of the British people. We will set the agenda in Westminster. I look forward to joining you all on this journey. We must now come together to restore Britain.
I hope that makes a bit more sense. It's not a political party. No, it is a pressure group. And here's a good example of what it's trying to achieve. Right now, they've got a list of MPs signed up to Restore Britain's pledge, which is to deport all of the illegal people in this country. So mass deportations. I think they've got 12 MPs signed up, or is it 18 right now? It says here. But this is what it does. It gets these MPs to pledge that they will pursue this legislation. It is a pressure group, yes, but it has over 100,000 members. That's 100,000 people that you just made a pledge to. You try breaking that. See you later, guys.
If raising legitimate concerns about thousands and thousands of unchecked foreign males